Hello, my name is Stuart and we are going to be talking about chronology. Chronology is really important in history and we show it on timelines. We have 3 questions we will be able to answer by the end of this video. Question number 1, what is chronology? Number 2, what is a timeline? And then number 3, what is living memory? Let's start with question number 1 and question number 2. Chronology is where we put events in the order that they happened. We show it on timelines. So very simply, it's a line that shows the passing of time. So a timeline is how we represent things chronologically. You could do that for your life so far. That timeline would start with when you were born and show all the way through to now. In history lessons, we use it to help us organise the past really clearly. When you were in reception, you did some work on chronology, even though you might not remember it. We use the word past to describe things that have already happened, and now if they are currently happening. If we were to make a timeline in reception, this is what it would look like. You can see that now is right at the end of our timeline, and the past is everything else. The past is so long we could never show it on a timeline because we'd run out of screen. Or we'd run out of space on our display. Now moving on to our new timelines for Key Stage 1. Let's start by getting rid of the earliest timeline. Once again, you'll notice it starts with this word, now. If we start with this, we always look back at what already happened. Let's count back in time. We are going to count back in jumps of 10 years. 10 of those jumps makes 100 years, and that's what we call living memory. Here we go. 10 years ago, 20 years ago, 30 years ago, 40 years ago, 50 years ago, 60 years ago, 70 years ago, 80 years ago, 90 years ago, 100 years ago. That's within living memory. This means we could ask someone about an event that happened within living memory because they were there when it happened. Can you think of any events that would go here? Further back in time is beyond living memory. It's further in the past than people can remember. Let's have a look at some timelines, shall we? Once again, we're starting at now and working backwards. Let's count back in time. 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 100. That's 100 years into the past. Within living memory. And anything further in the past is beyond living memory. I wonder where a year 1 child would go on our timeline. Now a year 1 child might be 5 or 6 years old. Where's that? It's here. It's not very far in the past from now, is it? So that's 5 years in the past. Let's take a look at where I would go on that timeline. Now I'm older than a year 1 child is, so I'm further in the past when I was born. There I am. Let's count back 10 years into the past, 20, 30. So I was born just over 30 years into the past. My mum is older than me, so she would be further into the past still. Let's show her on our timeline. There you go. My mum was born, let's count back. 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60. My mum was born just over 60 years in the past. So she is older and therefore was born furthest away from now. Let's take a look at a timeline for some toys that you might have at home or may have seen. Let's start once again by building our timeline. 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 100 years in the past. That's within living memory. Everything further is called beyond living memory. The PS5 was released very recently, so on our timeline, it's very close to now. The original PlayStation was released when I was in primary school, so it is further away from now than the PS5. The original Nintendo, called the NES, was released just before I was born, so it is the furthest away from now. This means it is the oldest. Who has a teddy at home? Well, look at where the first ever teddy is on our timeline. It's much further in the past, isn't it? Is it within or beyond living memory? It's in the green section, which is beyond living memory. The first teddy was made just over 100 years in the past. So, what have we learned? I'm going to ask you 3 questions related to what we've learned in this video. Hopefully you'll be able to answer them, but don't worry if you can't, because the answers will come after each question. Question number 1. Where do we start our timelines from in Key Stage 1? We start them from now and look back at what's already happened. Question number 2. How many years is within living memory? The answer is roughly 100 years, and we call that a century. Then question number 3. Which is further in the past, within or beyond living memory? The answer is beyond living memory. That's something that's happened over 100 years into the past. Thank you very much for watching. If you liked the video, please do give it a like and give the channel a subscribe. And hopefully, I will see you again for some more chronology sometime soon. Bye!